Hello.
Yo, long time no seen because the last video we had a little bit troubles. I wanted to show you the really cool Silver Jubilee, the old one, the 80s, but as it sometimes happens with Marshalls, it broke. We don't know what exactly, but that's the reason for me for a little, let's say, complaining. This era of Marshalls in the, let's say, the 80s, where they began to make this two-channel amps with the, I think, not really okay switching system, causes a lot of trouble. I had it on my GCM 800 with the two channels, and sadly enough also with the Silver Jubilee. And then I talked a little bit with my technician friends, and that's a common issue. I would say that's not the greatest invention of the century, the switching system of a Marshall. And that brings me to the next. Is it worth, let's say, playing these amps? Buying these amps is cool. Having these amps is cool because they keep the value, maybe it raises, but bringing them out on stage every day on a tour or in a studio session, that's a little bit risky, as we all know, at least the guys which owned this kind of amps during the last 50 years. There is always a good chance that these amps break. Can be so many reasons, beginning with tubes or worse, but you have troubles. So that brings me to the next question. Would I use these old, because I have a lot of these old amps on stage? Answer is depends. This one, the amp of today, that's my 71 Super Lead, I think is quite reliable. I use it as a clean pedal platform because let's say that's a little bit more safe than doing this one, cranking it, which means the volume is about 930, which is a really very nice clean sound, really clean. But that's okay. If you have the right pedals for this, it's great. There's enough headroom, which you need when you want to use delay or reverb effects in front of it. And then I press the button on the tube zone, as I often do. I think I like this the most. 100-watt power amp, voiced direction, old school Marshall, orange, high watt, no matter what. The one downside is also the missing master volume. So if you want to go to the edge of breakup sound, which is really fine, that's really loud. That's not possible because this is still loud. The 9 o'clock position on the volume is really loud. Maybe too loud for most of the venues nowadays, but in the studio it's okay. And I think it's manageable. If it's not enough, I press another box. Today I have the Vermurum, the Shanks 4K, which is a nice germanium, let's say, it's a fuzz, but a very subtle one. I'll show you. That gives me really every sound I need, even using the very weak Strat. And the tubes alone is cool for with turned down volume for a nice lead, clean. And go into the crunch territory. So that's a really nice sound, but do I really need this amp for this sound? I say no. I have it, I'm glad about that's the good thing with these old amps. They are getting more expensive from year to year, especially now when Marshall sold the brand, who knows. But okay, if you have this plexi kind of, because that's not really the plexi, but 71, I think that's very similar to the really plexi. So collecting these amps, cool. Having them in the studio or in a museum, that's really cool. But using them live, no, I wouldn't do it. If you think about bands like AC/DC, okay, they are earning a lot of money, so they can afford a technician who works the whole day, and I don't know how many gigs AC/DC plays, let's say 3 a week, 2, 4, but this guy is always repairing some of this fucking Marshall, because there is, even in this big area where money doesn't play any role, he has to do a lot, because these amps, they suck. If you use it really on a loud level, you are on a high risk that every now and then one thing breaks. Okay, it's you can fix it, but it costs a lot of money. Nowadays tubes are very expensive, and it's not. It makes you. So if you don't have a technician guy, you have to look for the next one and pay. No, so I prefer for the next episodes I will bring them on the table again. My favorite new, really kind of Marshall, which are the Divided, the Friedman, and the Magnatone. Let's say these are my 3 favorite amps I would use today, because they are very reliable. They have a master volume, which is really very practical, and they are sounding great. This mojo you get plugging into this old boy, I'm not sure if it's only a feeling of myself. You never know, because there is something. You see it and say, oh, it sounds so good. And there is something with this special treble, the high frequencies on an old Marshall. No discussion. Yeah, they are mighty, even on a, no, I don't say bedroom level, that's really not bedroom level. Let's try direction bedroom level. Another thing, I tuned this one because normally these 4-input Marshalls have a terrible, not terrible, but on this level, terrible sounding bright switch built in, which acts below, let's say, 5 or 6, terrible, ear piercing. I changed this. It's a little different to the right channel, which is on a little bit damp in a way. So that's perfect for my hearings, I would say. Yeah, that's a cool, clean sound. So I don't need a super bass, because all the guys will say, oh, you have to have a super bass. Yo, why? Because they can't hear a super lead on low level on the bright channel because of the bright clip. But you can change this. You can put it out, which is not really the best variation, or like Lucky Luke has, a switch in or out, or like I did, finding the right amount of the treble bleed, and you are fine. If you want to crank it, you have to turn it up, yeah, let's say between 6 to 10. You don't hear it. Yeah, and that's the next thing you have to know. 1 millimeter on the volume knob means a lot in volume. So if you have this behind you on a live stage and I want to be a little bit louder, and you turn back and can be double the volume. Be careful. Also, because of this really big headroom, every knob, also on the pedals, reacts very drastically if you turn on the volume. This effect you don't have if you have a, let's say, a 30 watt amp, because then if you do this on a 30 watt amp, it gets more gainy, a little bit louder, but mainly more gain. On this headroom, it gets double or 3 times so loud. So that's all the downsides of the big headroom amp without a master volume. But if you know all this, you can use it. Better you have 2, because that's the reason you see on every stage where you see a Marshall, there's a second one. Maybe, or I'm sure, spare. Because you never know. But that's not only with Marshall, that's also with Fender and Fox. These brands, when they sold their stuff, they wanted to make money. So every technician can tell you they went for cheap components, not for the best, for the cheapest ones. You have to know this. And we all love it because it's the mojo, but the reality is we are dealing with not high quality parts, and some of these 71, 50 years. It's like driving an old timer. You have to have a mechanic friend if you have an old timer car. Same here. If you have an old timer amp, you have to have a technician friend. Mine is in far away in Haag, but I visit him very often, bringing him mostly Marshalls. Yeah, because I love it. And this, for me, it's a romantic combination because I played all this in the old days. But as I said, nowadays, I'm on the Friedman divided by 13 Magnatone side, which is really good. Even okay if you use your digital stuff. I understand this also, or your small Iridium or AMP1 or whatever you have on the market, which is fine because it's sounding the same every day. And to be honest, is it really important? If you are not AC/DC, I'm not sure if it's so important if you have the Plexi Marshall behind you. Okay, okay, that's enough talking for today. Thanks for all the new subscribers. Glad to have you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.